Good morning. If you are still finding your seat, if you are running your way to your seat, all good. Welcome to this worship service at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Salem. Corin, is my sound on? I can't quite tell. Okay, a lot of you are giving me thumbs up. Excellent, my sound is on. So, welcome to this worship service. Welcome to all of you joining us in the room. Welcome to all of you joining us online. We are so glad that you have chosen to come and be part of co-creating this community. So grateful that you decided it was worth getting dressed and driving over here, or getting to your device to be part of what it is that we make when we gather together. I am the Reverend Monica Jacobson. I use she, her pronouns, and I have the delight of serving this congregation as minister. Leading worship with me today are Ariane and Kirkpatrick as our celebrant, our Director of Religious Education, Molly Brown. Annie Minden is our Lifeline's lay minister today. Our music director, Grace Curran, is our song leader. Lori Ann Schmidt is at the piano. Corin Navarez is at the tech table. Meryl McKean is giving our stewardship testimonial, and Doc Hadley made our slides. This is just a sampling of all the people who come together to create a Sunday morning here. We gather today, as we always gather, as a community of seekers, each and every one of us carrying questions and searching for wisdom and inspiration to help us live lives of meaning in a world that desperately needs people living lives of meaning. We gather amidst turmoil, amidst acts of war, amidst all that is hard and frightening and we gather as a community of people committed to doing what we can for peace and justice and more love in this world. And in our gathering and hundreds of gatherings like this, may we find some of the hope we need to sustain ourselves in these times. You are welcome here this morning exactly as you are. Whatever beliefs sustain you, whomever you love, however you understand and express your identities, and in every way you are becoming the person you will be. We are companions to each other here on the journey of our lives. So now, I want to invite you to join me in taking a really good deep breath, because amidst all that is happening, we are still here, still breathing, in this place and not any other. Let the air come in and fill your body. Let it go out. If you'd like, you can take a look around the room. Take a look at these companions. If you're with us online, take a moment and visualize all those who you know join in this great project of working toward a world where all can flourish. And know that you are not alone. And that indeed, at least some of what we need is here among us and between us. So in that spirit, as we join in worship, I invite you to rise in body, in voice, in spirit, whatever is right for you, to join in singing a very simple gathering hymn, What We Need Is Here. The words are, what we need is here. You'll hear the melody changes a little bit on the second repeat. If you know it already, come on in. If you have a harmony to bring, give it a try. If you're not sure your harmony works, give it a try anyway. We're going to sing it until we feel complete. So just let it sink in and let this music carry you.
We need is here. What 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 we need is here.
Whenever there are two or more of us gathered here to touch hands and hearts, there's care, there is support, and there is love. Together, we are. Please join me as we recite our affirmation together. The words are projected here or printed in your order of service. Love is our doctrine. Compassion is our way. Here we seek to create a joyful home for free religious exploration, build a community of caring fellowship, nurture the hopes, and serve the needs of our world. The flaming chalice is a symbol of light and enlightenment for us as Unitarian Universalists. It draws our attention to its light. It is an everlasting flame, one that shines for and within this community. It offers inspiration, transformation, creativity, and strength. It gives light when there's darkness. It gives warmth when all seems cold. It shines for truth and justice, for love and equity, for hope. It purifies and creates a sacred space in this sanctuary which transforms this congregation into a sacred community. We light one chalice, one flame for this congregation here in Salem, Oregon. We light a second flame for our partner church in Sheeman-Falva, Transylvania. I knew I could say the word. Whose roots gave us life. The third is a lantern for all the children and youth and young at heart to shine the light of wisdom and knowledge as we grow. May the light of these chalices shine for us all. Please join me as we sing these flames to life.
Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy.
Can everybody young or young at heart please join me up front? Hello. Welcome. Hi, guys. Hi. Thanks for coming. Okay, all month long, we will be exploring the power of paying attention in the LRE program. Today, we're focusing on the power of paying attention to our impact on others. When facing big problems, it can seem like we are not powerful enough to make a difference. But the humanist part of our UU heritage challenges this idea by calling us to pay attention to the many ways that our small actions can make a big impact. That is exactly what this story is all about. It's called The Starfish Thrower. One day, a man was walking along the beach when he saw a girl. He watched as the girl reached down, picked up a starfish from the sand, and threw it into the ocean. "What are you doing?" asked the man. "I am throwing starfishes into the ocean," said the girl. "The sea has washed them up into the beach. If I don't throw them back before the sun comes up, they will dry up and die." "But the beach goes on for miles, and there are thousands of starfishes," said the man. "You'll never throw them all back. There are too many. You can't possibly make a difference." The girl listened politely, then picked up another starfish, threw it back into the sea, and said, "I made a difference to that one." What I love about that story is how it enables us to see that we are not powerless by changing where we put our attention. But shifting the man's attention away from the thousands of starfish and putting it instead on the single starfish in front of them, this little girl helped remind the man and us that we have more power than we think to make a difference. Okay, and Annie is going to do some birthday cards for us today.
Good morning, you guys. It's March. You know what that means, right? I've got more birthday cards. Okay, so is Maya here today? No. Daniel? Got a card for Lily. I'll get these other ones in the mail. Raleigh's not here today. I do see one friend here. I'm going to find it. There's one for Joey. Yay, Joey. And Miles. And then I have one other card for any friends that maybe weren't on the computer this morning. Nope. Okay. I'll get these other ones in the mail. And remember, you guys, we love seeing you. Thank you for coming all the time. And come and visit us the first Sunday of the month, and we will get you guys your birthday cards, okay? Okay.
Thank you. If you could stand in the center and create the love arch, we'll be on our way. Thank you.
Are in our stewardship season here, the time of year in which we pool our resources to make this congregation a thriving beacon that people can come and gather around and get connected and involved in. When we do our stewardship season, we are asking for pledges of support. We're looking at financial pledges and people giving of their time and of their abilities. And we have the opportunity to hear from members of this congregation about what inspires them. So I'm grateful to Meryl McKean for sharing this morning. Come on up, Meryl.
Good morning. I'm really excited to be able to talk about my journey as a Unitarian Universalist. I have had the gift of being a lifelong Unitarian. I grew up in the Berkeley Fellowship of Unitarians in California, and it was one of the most enriching gifts my parents ever gave me, to have the freedom to decide who I was going to be in a spiritual and religious sense, and to be able to grow with that my entire life. I had wonderful teachers when I was in the Sunday school there. Sunday school is what we called it at that time. A lot of our time was spent running around the Berkeley campus. And we would go to the rad lab, we'd go to the botanical gardens, we'd go to the bio lab. And one of my favorite things was going into the biology building, and on one wall was an absolutely miraculous tree of life that actually had little specimens of all sorts of things, from molecular structures to everything in the flora, the fauna. And it was an amazing way to open the mind of a child. We also did a lot of running around on the campus. And when I think back, I think, what were we doing? You know, we're running around, we're running through drainage tunnels on the campus, we're frolicking in the buildings, we're playing in the grass. And I have no sense of direction, never have, but you could always know where you were on the Berkeley campus because of the campanile. And if some of you know, it's a huge, tall clock tower. So wherever I would roam around while these little gangs of kids would be running around the campus, I could see that campanile and I would know where I was on the campus and find my way back to wherever I needed to be. Well, what I discovered throughout the course of my life as a Unitarian is that the Unitarian congregations I've belonged to have been the compass needle, the campanile in my life. I always would have this body of people that essentially had some similar views to mine. When I was an adult and was belonging to the church in Kirkland, Washington, I was very poor. Well, I don't use the word poor, but we didn't have any money. We barely made it by. But I gave a lot of my time. I tended toddlers and babies. I taught the the grade school kids, and then I taught the junior high kids, and it was always a wonderful blessing to be able to be with these kids. Sometimes I felt for years like I never made it to a service, but I also sang in the choir, and I was always out there washing dishes in the kitchen. So that was the way I pledged my time in my service at that point. As my life got broader and I was able to earn more money, I began to pledge to the church, and it always made me feel very good to give back to this congregation that gave me such a richness in my life. I joined this congregation in 2022, and thankfully I'm at a point in my life where I could pledge, and I'm grateful to do so. And so every year I've just upped it a little bit because I've had a little bit more money every year, which is a great gift in and of itself. And I continue to give of my time because I get so much back. And that's really all I've got to say, that this is a blessed community to me, and I know that wherever I go in this world, if there's a Unitarian Universalist community, I'll have a home, and I'll help take care of that home because it's important to me.
Thank you, Meryl. I'm Barbara Stebbins-Bowes. I'm on the stewardship team, and it's hard to quantify all the gifts that you have, that you give to us, except when there's money involved. We can quantify that. So if you'd like an update, I'm here to give you an update on how the pledge drive is doing so far. It ends on March 15th, so we're about halfway through. And so far, I'm happy to report, we've, as of yesterday, we have 40 pledges. That's about 28% of what was pledged, or the number of people that have pledged compared to last year, roughly. And we have a total of $101,622, which is approximately 30% of the way towards our goal, which, if you remember from yesterday, last Sunday's little, what was that, votive candle thing, it had under, one of the votive candles had 342K. That is our goal, $342,000. And it's a bit of a stretch. We incorporated a stretch in there, but we are a third of the way there. So congratulations so far. Some of you, most of you have not pledged, and you may continue to do that. There is a pledge headquarters to the right as you go into the fellowship hall. I think Ben, will you be there? Ben, raise your hand. That's that handsome dude that would very kindly take your pledge, and there are pledge forms there. Thank you. Oh, and you can also pledge online. All right, that's it.
A Unitarian Universalist congregation is self-supporting, so these pledges matter a tremendous amount to our ability to fuel our community. And I want to add a personal update. If you were here last year when Craig Rowland was our pledge chair, you may have seen Craig dyed his entire head pink. That was 0% of pledges achieved. And then he did weekly updates by getting progressively more and more purple throughout the pledge drive. So this year we said, who's going to dye their hair for the pledge drive this year? And I said, well, I will, but I'm not going to do it the way Craig did it. So this is your update that I have an appointment on March 11th to have my hair dyed. I have asked my hairstylist to do what they call dip dye, where you do the bottom like couple inches. And it is my goal to have achieved enough of our pledge goal that I can get all 6 colors of the rainbow around my head. Please don't leave me hanging on like green. Blue and purple are my favorite colors. I really want to complete the rainbow. And then when I show up on March 15th, you can come see, how we did. So that is our special pledge incentive this year. We are aiming for 100% participation. That means every single form returned is a way of saying, I am invested in this community. And that is a valuable thing to do for yourself and for all of us. It's a way to tell us what you are putting in and that you are committed. So please do fill out those forms so that we know you are in. And now, I want to invite us into a practice of shared singing. This is a song we've sung before. When the world is sick, can't no one be well. But I dreamt we were all beautiful and strong. Because the other thing we do when we gather together as this community, with all of our experiences and our insights and our visions, is that together we are able to imagine the better world which we are trying to bring into being. So we're going to sing this through. Again, like our gathering hymn, we're going to sing it kind of until it feels complete. If it is new to you, go ahead and listen. You can hum. You can do whatever is right to move yourself into the music. And when you're ready, join in singing. You can. I often start it, but I'm trying to let Grace take the lead this morning, but we didn't coordinate this, so.
When the world is sick,
Can no one be well? But I dreamt we were all beautiful and strong. When the world is sick, can't no one be well? But I dreamt we were all beautiful and strong. When the world is sick, can't no one be well? But I dreamt we were all beautiful and strong. When the world is sick, can't no one be well? But I dreamt we were all beautiful and strong. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Annie Minden, and I am one of your Lifeline lay ministers. Lifeline lay ministers are members of UUCS who are here to help people in times of need. We can be identified by our lavender stoles and badges. You can reach us by visiting the Lifelines table in Hanneman Hall each Sunday after service, or by using the contact information in your order of service. Each week when we gather for worship, we share the joys and sorrows of members of this community. We know that joys shared are often magnified as we celebrate together, and sorrows shared may be lightened as we are reminded that we are not alone. As I read them, we'll light a candle to symbolize the truth that is shared and remind us that what we hold together brings more of the light of understanding and compassion to us all. This morning I have 2 sorrows and 1 joy and sorrow. From Lorianne, please send healing to the families affected by the violence in the Middle East. A dear friend's church office was among the bombed sites in Dubai. May our Congress halt this administration's lust for violence and notoriety. For Joe Bateman, Joe fell on Thursday night and broke her femur. She leaves the hospital this afternoon and will return to Manor Care at Capitol Manor. Joe recently turned 104. And finally, from Greg, today I am a tormented spirit. I am filled with joy that 1,500 young people marched to our capital to protest our lawless government, and I am filled with grief and remorse for the dead and injured by the actions of this corrupt and spiritless government. Finally, we light one more candle to remind us of the joys and sorrows carried in this community, which remain unspoken in our hearts.
Will you join with me in the spirit of reflection, of centering, of prayer or meditation? I bring to you today this poem by Steve Garnas Holmes, a retired United Methodist minister and a poet, titled Ordinary Actions. They dressed up like frogs. They danced. In tear gas, they danced. They sang. In below zero weather, they sang. They brought food to those in hiding. They walked. For 2,300 miles, they walked. They made phone calls. Every day, they called. They showed up. With loving kindness, they were present. This is how we change the world. One heart at a time, by the simplest of things. A conversation, an act of generosity. The new world is waiting within us. Mustard seeds of peace, word made flesh, ordinary actions. They create ripples which become waves. This is how God parted the Red Sea, not with awesome powers, but with little ripples that just kept going. May we know our ordinary actions, our ripples matter. And to sustain our ripples, to sustain the movement that we can make in our lives, I invite you to join in singing while you remain seated. Hymn number 1009, Meditation on Breathing. I want you to know that this hymn was written by one of our Unitarian Universalist musicians, Sarah Dan Jones, in the wake of the September 11th attacks on a number of sites. It is about continuing with our breath and with every moment of our lives to bring more love and more peace into a world that needs it so badly.
Good morning. We got a fun one. 3 parts. If we could get it up there.
It's also in your teal hymnal.
It is in your teal hymnal. It's 10:09. We're going to split into 3. Un, deux, trois. Oh, no, I didn't take French. Sorry. Okay. Ooh, the way it's set up is interesting. Okay. I'm so sorry. Is the drone in the... Or are those all of the notations we have?
So pull out your teal hymnal.
Yeah, we might need the hymnal for this one, I
You'll
suppose.
see 3 lines.
We're going to do that.
If you'd like to sing the same note over and over again, good news. There's a part for you.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Apologies. Okay. The drone. We're going to start right here. It goes, thank you. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. You're going to keep that going? Breathe in.
Breathe out.
Melody in the middle here. Yep, keep going. Join me when you're ready, Melody. I did the wrong part. Ready, Melody? You're going. No, I did say melody. That's the funny part. Melody. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out. You ready, Descant? When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I will breathe out love. Keep it going. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I will breathe out love. Last time. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I will breathe out love. Thank you.
Accident, Mass Ave, by Jill McDonough. I stopped at a red light on Mass Ave in Boston, a couple of blocks away from the bridge, and a woman in a beat-up old Buick backed into me. Like cranked her wheel, rammed right into my side. I drove a Chevy pickup truck, it being Boston. I got out of the car yelling, swearing at this woman, a little woman whose first language was not English. But she lived and drove in Boston too, so she knew, we both knew, that the thing to do is to get out of the car, slam the door as hard as you effing can, and yell things like, "What the F were you thinking? You effing blind? What the F is going on? Jesus Christ!" So we swore at each other with perfect posture, unnaturally aligned chins. I threw my arms around, sudden jerking motions with my whole arms, the backs of my hands toward where she'd hit my truck. But she hadn't hit my truck. She hit the tire. No damage done. Her car was fine too. We saw this while we were yelling, and then we were stuck. The next line in our little drama should have been, "Look at this effing dent. I'm not paying for this. I'm calling the cops, lady. Maybe we'd throw in a couple of, 'You're in big trouble, sister,' or 'I just hope for your sake there's nothing wrong with my effing suspension.' That sort of thing. But there was no effing dent. There was nothing else for us to do. So I stopped yelling, and she looked at the tire she'd backed into, her little eyebrows pursed and worried. She was clearly in the wrong. I was enormous, and I'd been acting like I was ready to hit her. So I said, 'Well, there's nothing wrong with my car, nothing wrong with your car. Are you okay?' She nodded and started to cry. So I put my arms around her and I held her in the middle of the street, Mass Ave, Boston, a couple of blocks from the bridge. I hugged her and I said, 'We were scared, weren't we?' And she nodded and we laughed.
Beautifully delivered. Thank you. That poem was edited a little bit for worship. If you've ever driven on the East Coast, you can guess what words were edited in that poem. I have been remembering, in October of 2020, I attended a training about the art of de-escalation. This was in the time of continued pandemic lockdown, on the eve of a potentially contentious national election. Everything was still happening on Zoom. I was serving a congregation in Massachusetts, not far from Boston. And clergy of many denominations and traditions gathered to figure out how we could be of assistance in these times. Now, I admit, as people were logging on, I missed a little bit of the start of the training because I was so starstruck when Rabbi Shoshana Friedman logged on. If you know the beautiful climate anthem, "The Tide is Rising," you know Rabbi Friedman's work. And I was like, "Oh, we're in the same Zoom room." It was very exciting for me. Our trainers, who came from a climate justice organization, started with one basic premise for us, that there is the world as it is. I think we know something about the world as it is. And there is the world as it could be, perhaps as it should be. This world we dream of, where we are all beautiful and strong, whatever that might mean for each of us. They said, in the world as it is, we know there is injustice, there is harm, there is an extractive worldview in which people and places and things are mainly valued for what wealth can be created from their work or by their exploitation. And remember, this is from 2020. In the world as it is, money often buys people out of the consequences of their actions. This has only become more vivid in the years since then. And in the world as it could be, the world we dream of, there is justice. People are valued and they are cared for. Rather than extracting value, instead, people give and resources flow to where they are needed. This is the world we talk about in the evening with our loved ones over a mug of tea. This is the world we talk about in the morning in our worship services. And we do our work for peace and for justice in the space between the two, in the tension between the two, in the ways we describe the differences between the world as it currently is and the world as we know it could be. And another name for that tension between those two worlds is faith. To be people of faith is to be in that tension and to try to move toward the world we dream of. Part of what it means to be people of faith is to hold open the possibility of that world that we dream of, to watch for glimpses and glimmers of it. But because all work for social change exists in that place of tension, conflict occurs there. You may remember, we had a service here last spring where we talked about the idea that the most basic definition of conflict is simply the presence of difference. There is generative conflict. If you've ever been in a brainstorming session where nobody really had any ideas to share, you know that the absence of difference, the absence of conflicting ideas, is not always helpful. Coming up with lots of different ideas that are not the same as each other is a generative form of conflict. What we aim to watch out for is destructive conflict. What we want to prevent or decrease is really what we might call violence. Physical violence, emotional violence, destruction. And what we want to create in this world as it could be is a world of true peace. Our trainers pointed out that a lot of people have been taught that peace is the absence of conflict. But real peace is the presence of justice. It does not involve suppressing disagreements or conflicts or difficulties. It involves bringing them out into the open, making them generative, and doing the work of healing and repair to create a world of true justice and true peace. So as usual, I'm just offering like a tiny little task that some of us might like to undertake for like a couple hours on a Saturday, right? Simple stuff. True peace. Knowing that times of conflict occur in the space of tension, one spiritual practice for us is the art of de-escalation. The art of de-escalation is 90% observation. It involves paying attention, noticing what is going on, noticing in yourself, noticing in your community. Some of it is incredibly practical noticing. Who are the resource people in this gathering who might be able to help if someone has an emergency? Where are the exits? What are the most basic details I might like to know to respond to a situation as it emerges? Noticing where might I make a difference, either by adding my presence or by withdrawing my presence. Noticing, am I playing out a script? You hit my car, lady! Oh, I could dial that behavior back a bit. That would be helpful. And noticing always where your assumptions, because we all make assumptions, where your assumptions may be getting in the way of contributing to the resolution, the de-escalation, the movement toward peace. This always starts with consent. You cannot de-escalate someone who does not want you to help de-escalate them. If you've ever tried saying to someone, would you just calm down? Has that ever worked? Like ever in the history of humans? But saying to somebody, hey, can I check in with you? Can I help you? Can you tell me what's going on for you right now? Do you want to come over here and talk with me for a second? It seems like something hard is occurring. And letting the person who is escalated say, yeah, actually, I would like to talk with somebody for a second. This is a powerful opening. And it brings us to perhaps the most fundamental thing we can practice, which is to use the quality of our presence to help bring more grounding and more centering to others. We are social creatures. We are wired with mirror neurons. We respond to the way others respond to us. So in times when someone is distressed, to be able to say not only, hey, would you like to choose to come and talk with me? But then to be able to say, I'm doing okay. I can hold this space for you, is incredibly powerful as something we offer to each other. When someone is escalated, when someone is distressed, they are yelling, they are crying, they are trying to threaten others, perhaps to make themselves feel safer. Reason and logic don't do a lot to get through. This really is a question of making a connection on a deeper level. And this is because most people, when their behavior is escalated, are asking themselves 3 fundamental questions and feeling that the answer to at least one question is probably no. Those questions are, am I safe? Do I belong? Can I matter? And so when we show up into a space and practice the art of de-escalation, we are helping others to know they matter, they belong, they are safe. These are deeply rooted questions in every one of us. How much of what you hear these days sounds like it's rooted in fears of not mattering or not belonging? How much of it is frankly fabricated stories that produce a sense of being unsafe? We see these questions exerting powerful influence all over the world. So in our one-to-one interactions, in our small group interactions, it matters that we help each other to access more feelings of safety, of belonging, and of mattering. Because whatever we do ripples out. Now, it is also important that we take care of ourselves in order to show up in these ways for each other. Not only has it never worked to say, hey, just calm down, it's also never worked to say, okay, okay, I'm here to de-escalate you. This does not produce calm. So it matters that we attend to our own emotional states, that we know what it takes for each of us to feel grounded, to feel centered, to have someone else to check in with when we are having a hard time, and to use practices as simple as taking deep, slow breaths, which on a mammalian level tell us that we're probably safe and okay because we're still breathing. And it is important to remember that these interactions are one of our powerful tools for change. If you have ever driven in any East Coast city, I am sure you have seen an interaction like the one in that poem. I am sure you have seen how people can amp each other up. And this, in the world as it is, can inspire us to know that in the world as it could be, we can be each other's paths to more peace, more true peace. As Rabbi Shoshana Friedman said in this training, nothing beats a genuine human connection. There is nothing more valuable than slowing down enough, breathing deeply enough to help someone else find their center and to know that we have found our own. Not all of us will be trained as de-escalators. Not all of us will be out there at marches and protests ready to intervene. But every one of us will have times when we come into contact with someone who is in distress, who is saying to themselves, I don't feel safe. I don't feel that I belong. I don't feel like I matter. And it is in those moments that we can help people come into communities and relationships in ways that are life-giving and that ultimately help to create more of the world as we know it could be. We do all this, whether it's in a tense interaction with a neighbor at a mailbox, whether it's in a committee meeting, whether it's on the steps of the Capitol. We do all of this in the service of true, deep peace. And this is a worthy pursuit in these times. So I want to invite you into an embodied practice. It's very simple. It only involves your hands. This practice from the activist and nonviolent trainer Barbara Deming called the 2 hands of nonviolence. So you can hold up one hand like this. With one hand held up, we say to an oppressor or an unjust system, stop what you are doing. I refuse to honor the role you are choosing to play. I refuse to obey you. I refuse to cooperate with your demands. I refuse to build the walls and the bombs. I refuse to pay for the guns. With this hand, I will interfere with the wrong you are doing. I will disrupt the easy pattern of your life. But then, the advocate of nonviolence raises the other hand. It is outstretched, maybe with love and sympathy, maybe not, but always outstretched. And with this hand, we say, I will not let go of you or cast you out of the human race. I have faith that you can make a better choice than you are making now. And I will be here when you are ready to change. Like it or not, we are part of one another. In these times, may we practice both hands so that together we can move closer to the world we still know is possible. May it be so.
We are a loving community, a caring community. We hold each other in the good times and the sad times. This building is a sanctuary for so many, so often, and it is a source of joy, protection, peace, and hard work. We sustain this place. What we give sustains this place. Each month, we try to focus on something or someplace that could use a helping hand. Every little bit helps to make the whole stronger. And this month, we are working to strengthen our partner church in Siemenfalva, Transylvania, to help them flourish as we flourish. We share our plate with them this month. We also work together to reduce hunger in our community by donations to the Marion Polk Food Share and with those non-perishable goods, but also with money donations. I want to thank you for your kindness, for your generosity, and for all that you give in every way that you give, even a little, so that others may feel this love. Thank you. Please join me in saying the words for giving thanks. They are printed in your order of service or projected on the screen. To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our many gifts, including these offerings. Each week, we take the flame from our congregational chalice and light our social justice lantern to carry the light of truth forward through the week, to bring light on the injustices and inequities as we work together in community to make this place, this city, this state, nation, and perhaps the world a place of peace. And now, we release the flames of our chalices, the one for this community and the one for our partner church far from here. The smoke from the wicks rise upward to the sky and send our messages aloft, our hopes, our dreams, and our love. We are grateful for the attention the light has brought, and we thank the flames for their presence here and bid them Godspeed on their way.
A few announcements. You can see some things that are going on the back of your order of service. There's a Friday announcement email that comes out. If you're not on the list but you'd like to get that, you can stop by the welcome table. I want to highlight a few things. Because we are in the midst of our pledge drive, that means we have a special activity every Sunday. It is a sing-along today. So you can gather this piano. You can gather back in the sanctuary. No, sorry, you can gather in the fellowship hall around that piano to sing some familiar songs, some from the hymnal you may know, some from the Beatles you may know. Show up to sing together. In here at noon, there will be a coordinating council meeting. That is the meeting of the leaders of committees and teams. They meet quarterly to share information and to coordinate across all the different parts of congregational life. If you are chairing a committee or a team, I hope you will be part of that gathering or check in with our vice chair of the board, Del Ford, about that. Also today, so last month we did our common read sessions for adults. Today our common read sessions for children and their families begin at 12:30 down in the RE Commons. That's aimed largely at elementary schoolers and their grown-ups. So feel free to join in that if you are here with elementary schoolers and it works for you to stay and participate. And finally, just an exciting announcement that is far out on the horizon. So every June, the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations has what we call a General Assembly, when we gather to do business, to share worship services, to hear from a keynote speaker or two. This year, our speaker is the Bishop Marianne Edgar Budd. She will be giving our WHERE lecture on a Saturday evening, very exciting. This year, they are doing an experimental form of General Assembly. So rather than many people going to a conference center, there are a variety of what are called satellite sites where people can choose to gather in kind of smaller pods rather than thousands of people in the convention center. And we are one of them. Yay! So more information about that will be coming out. But if you're on the General Assembly email list from the UUA, you may notice they are starting to promote all the places a person can choose to gather. And one of them is here in our building. So I am very excited to be part of bringing in UUs from surrounding areas and being able to share together in these experiences here. Just didn't want you reading the emails and being like, what? I didn't know about that. Now you know. Tell your friends. Finally, I invite you to rise in body, in voice, or in spirit for our closing hymn, one that has always been about keeping on toward the better world. There is more love somewhere.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. More peace. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace. There is more joy. There is more joy somewhere.
remain standing in body or spirit, I invite you to join us in our closing words, which are printed in the order of service or projected here on the screen. You can choose to join hands with those near you or touch elbows or simply gesture toward each other, whatever's right for you today. May faith in the spirit of life, hope for the community of earth, and love for the sacred in one another be ours now and in all the days to come. Blessed be. Thanks. Thank you.